Tá Shiaght Laa enam an Clare Show, as bavai am Galtach a shoe on show. Fiona McArdle Mish, I'm Fiona McArdle, and I'd like to welcome you to Shiaght Laa. This time in Shiaght Laa, the cute show on Shiaght Laa, Reih Bleeaney Vanannan, Vanannan's Choice of the Year, the island's highest cultural honour. We heard a little about this year's recipient last time, but this time we explore that award in more depth. As an Siobhaish Chioli and Cratha, Leorish John Stainer, and John Stainer's oratorio The Crucifixion. Musical director and conductor Julian Power tells us about two performances this Easter. Tanounder Surja ons Manin, Shend ve riot mer Reih Bleeaney Vanannan. De Cleachtach tan K courage de Shiaght Laa de Gol Stiach Recordason Jane Shamanish, as de Stiach Rishan Versoon ta Gedden an Honour. Mer shen ta K ein Recordason Votion Le Hinich Lashen, as Vashen Gentech Phil Gone. Son a hood smoo ta fogra clowage mochas of Lein Noor, och Melina va Cumraelon, ha nei na slew kindach rish droch hachet, och erigerit ta mi whistle grey de fayera henken K de Chummel and Charmanus. The island's highest cultural award, Reih Bleeaney Vanannan, was made on a sunny afternoon in Bergara Chapel. The first voice here is that of Stewardar Culture Vannan, the director of Culture Vannan, Reih McArdle, with a citation leading up to the award. Then there's a response from this year's recipient of the award, Annie Kissack, RBV. Curliach Culture Vannan, the chairman of Culture Vannan, is Chris Thomas, MHK, and he voices his thoughts about Manx culture and about the work of Annie Kissack, RBV, before returning to Reih McArdle again, but finishing off, of course, with some thoughts from Annie Kissack, Reih Bleeaney Vanannan.
If there is one person who truly lives and breathes Manx culture and deserves to be Vanannan's Choice of the Year, it is Annie Kissack. What a stunning way to sum up the Reih Bleeaney Vanannan for 2025. Annie Kissack has been awarded the Isle of Man's highest cultural honour for her lifelong contribution to creativity and education in Manx culture, with a particular emphasis on the Manx language, traditional and original song, music and choral arranging, poetry, literature and folklore. Annie is someone who tells and shapes the stories of these shores with care, passion and the deepest of integrity. She is, as you will all know, one of life's natural communicators, and her contagious enthusiasm ensures that everyone, young and old, can get involved in or simply sit back and enjoy Manx music, song and poetry. She wears her learning lightly though, for Annie has honed her knowledge for more than 5 decades. She's equally at home with her nose in old books, as she is talking to people who hold a store of Manxness in themselves, and she's a very good listener. All that she carries with her embodies this living spirit of the Manx tradition, as expressed in the poems, songs and music she creates. In so many ways, Annie represents the beating heart of the Isle of Man. Annie says that her interest in Manx Gaelic was first awakened by her teacher at Oncombe School, Leslie Quilliam RBV, an interest encouraged by her parents, who themselves started Manx lessons at night school and remained long-term supporters of the language. Annie and sister Jenny joined Mona Douglas's Manx youth movement, Shiaght Laa, in the mid-1960s. Alongside other children, Annie regularly participated in Manx-themed concerts, plays and competitions, including the Gildan and Crunnit. A talented singer and musician, she's represented the Isle of Man at inter-Celtic festivals from her teenage years to the present day, as a soloist and part of groups such as Kerry Byrne Dance Group, Curtin Cúideach Manx Gaelic Choir, and as a founding member of the Arthur Cayley Giant Band. Her musical arrangements and poetry have been recognised with awards and honours around the world. The inaugural award for artistic merit from the Dowscola in Northern Ireland in 2001, and first places at the Pan-Celtic Festival choral competitions. In short, she is a vital force in not only preserving and promoting, but also creatively developing the Isle of Man's rich tapestry of cultural heritage. Inspired by a competition at Cruinnich, Annie gathered musical friends together to form Cúirgin Cúideach, which has just celebrated its 25th year. The choir continues to perform Annie's arrangements of Manx songs, along with her own compositions in Manx. And I think we can all agree her output has been truly incredible. As young parents living in Cregnish, Annie and her husband Phil ensured that the Manx language was passed on to their children. The couple played a key role in establishing Manx language provision for early years, helping set up an Chyd Chesmyd playgroup and developing Munjavega educational charity. These early successes led to the establishment of the Bunscoil Gilga, the Manx Medium School in St John's. And it's fitting that Munjavega is a recipient of the £500 donation that accompanies the award. Annie's commitment to the island's culture is also reflected in her creative and educational contributions. Her songs, as you've heard, range from fun and catchy to serious and contemplative. She can pen a simple rhyme to aid learning in the classroom and conjure up a complex choral work that can fill a whole cathedral with beauty and wonder. Her work has been published as Munjavega's Reih Bleeaney book and CD of little songs for young people, numerous albums with Cúirgin Cúideach, and within recording projects like Solace, The Promised Land, and the Mona's Isle project. Annie, of course, helped establish the Bunscoil Gilga as a place of excellence for the Manx language and for performing arts. Over 20 years, she's co-written at least 7 Manx Gaelic musicals with her fellow teacher, Aileen Clegg, resulting in dozens of songs which are enjoyed by all ages. And her songs have been published in the Ceolan Tia series and in the Nollaig Gennell songbook. In more recent years, Annie has been rightfully recognised as a poet, actor and playwright. She was crowned the 5th Manx Bard in 2018, publishing her collection of poems, Mona Sings, in 2022, as well as having success in various international anthologies. Her poems describe the Isle of Man's landscape, the people, the sense of place, and this is also reflected in her plays. An authority on the Manx dialect, she's recently voiced one of the characters in the BBC radio play of Hall Caine's The Manxman. An encouraging voice to all who seek to discover Manx culture, Annie's impact on the Isle of Man is immeasurable, and she is most deserving of the Reih Bleeaney Vanannan Award. The island is certainly richer for her contribution to Manx culture, for all that she has done and continues to do. Molly Solid, Annie.
Go married. Surgeon, as Rita had Shen Fee Kenchel Gurumai Mured, Tammy Jin Mach, the coaster, known to show, Teorum Kerbuis, the Ram, Sly, Dowes and Rankerma, Enum, Roish and Fannel, as the Fannel Heen, to Ulia Nafani on Culture Vannan, as and Shiggers, to Vanannan Heen. I'm not going to do all this thank you speech in Manx, so here's the English bit. First, many thanks to Brisha for that most generous tribute. I'm very grateful to those who nominated me and to the panel who assessed the nominations, and no doubt Vanannan himself played a very big part in this too. Thanks again to Brisha and to Culture Vannan for organising this presentation, and to Begaru Chapel, of course, for letting us piggyback on the back of a concert that Cúirgin Cúideach had already arranged to do, so thank you so much for that. It's lovely to look back on the names of previous recipients of the Reih Bleeaney Vanannan and feel myself in the company of those whose work I admire and who in many cases have been and are teachers and friends. My mum and dad would have been delighted too. Without their support, I couldn't have followed up my early interests in Manx, but because culture is not something you can do on your own. I'm sure my friends in Cúirgin Cúideach would agree. Without them, I'd have nobody to write songs for. It's great also to have the support of my more recent family, Phil, Ewan and Kitty, who have never turned a hair when I got wind of an idea and disappeared into a project for days on end. Now, our children can't be here today, but I'm delighted that Sister Jenny, wave your hand please, Sister Jenny, is here, along with my dear friend Claire Kilgallen, RBV. Where's Claire from? There she is, yes. We three shared a lot of adventures at Eglwch Vanannan with Mona Douglas. And Jenny, years ago, designed this medal. And I remember her doing it. I might even have offered some advice. She didn't take it, I think. She made the right decision. As Brisha mentioned, I had my first Manx lesson after school in Onken in the mid-1960s. And I remember running home to tell Mum all about it. And at that time, I had very little interest in school, apart from singing hymns in the morning. I struggled with reading, writing and maths, but during those Manx lessons, and they were very basic Manx lessons, I realised somehow, and it was like a sudden moment, when I felt I'd been given the key to something special that might unlock secrets in the future. And I remember looking out of the bedroom window towards the more rural parts of Arbory Parish and view what I saw from there with new curiosity. Why were we living in Ballacrint? What did that mean? What was the distant farm called? Why had my great-grandparents stopped speaking Manx? I sensed there might be stories lying in the landscape, and there might be some nearer home too, and so it proved. And from that initial introduction to the language, I gradually became involved in music and dancing, and eventually was able to read more widely in history, literature and folklore, and I saw how all these things might tie in with each other. And the magic and excitement of Manx culture is, for me, all these connections still waiting to be made. And I'm so grateful to have had chances to make them. Fogelbeg, Bunstjit, McCann, a culture as Briacus. Tan could smooge and Briacus goit son ons crew ren and no. At to bun iron kill nifoglan. The men at chit was aber jint hajek exsly elia as an ransacked ock. Jint as blainton shaw kine or as the layan shaw as current elinia. As who me mac ram. Trud Lord as geiste rys slainius. Ta kinjak smooth the evan mach. Look shen tammy said the golden red sgun ligger the fel the rudden tammy genu. Jin kiat sanach dukasak. Ons blinken shaw kai for ram again and if they on a cushion mission. Achaliams the fel shino you tiggle a soldier a mach nungultua ons na reg and heen. A shen an atle the kive. Holeer is nach fel sin Jeroed na vrouwen as ligged en briachus gas by shen. Nish ta pers chit arm, yam spelling. Smiley am cavern the hay. Oh, smiley am cavern the hay, na virgin, smiley am cavern the hay. Oh, smiley am cavern the hay, na virgin, smiley am cavern the hay. You so virgin, smiley am cavern the hay. You so virgin, smiley am cavern the hay. Thank you, goodbye, William.
But incredibly valuable contribution that Annie has made over a great number of years to music, to language, to storytelling, to poetry, to bringing people together, not as part of a job, but in her free time because of her passion and her love of the place and the people, you know, that she's part of. And that's what we were celebrating today, of people celebrating the contribution of somebody that Vanannan would have been proud of. It's the best job I've had as part of public service in the Isle of Man. It's a great honour as the Shiaght of Culture Vanannan, and I hope the organisation's gone from strength to strength, and I'm absolutely sure that Manx language, Manx music and the sort of digital presentation, the physical presentation of everything that's wonderful about this place and the people has gone from strength to strength, and I hope that Culture Vanannan has played its part, and it's great that we work with Manx National Heritage and the Arts Council and other organisations to have this award, which we give out not necessarily every year, but when somebody needs to receive it, and certainly Annie is one of those people. We're here close to Kirkmichael, and one year, my first year I think, we gave it to the Kirkmichael players. Another contribution I remember vividly was Deemster Kane, and it wasn't for being a Deemster, it wasn't for all these years of public service, it was for his contribution to the environment and Manx Wildlife Trust. Look, we've got criteria, and it's about doing things through passion in your own time, not as part of your job, to contribute to what is special about the Isle of Man and its people, and Annie falls into that category. Each of the organisations that's part of it sends along a representative to a secret meeting. We then keep the results secret from pretty much everybody until an occasion like this, and then the person who's receiving it chooses a charity. In this case, it's a charity of the Manx language.
We have nominations for the Reih Bleeaney Vanannan, Vanannan's Choice of the Year, that come from the public, and then a small panel made up of different learned societies, Manx societies, come together and they make the decision. And the reason why they chose Annie is because she's quite wonderful at music and song and poetry and folklore and literature and performing and everything else you can imagine. We know that Annie started learning about Manx culture when she was a child, really, when she was a young person, and she was learning from her teachers, people like Les Quilliam, but also from Mona Douglas in the Shiaght Laa, the Youth of Man organisation, and so she started performing and singing, and she's represented the island all around the world, really, at different conferences and festivals. She's won awards, but really most of her life she spent producing music, writing new songs, arranging old songs, finding words, bringing everything together, writing the most beautiful poetry and plays, and performing as well. And I think that's an incredibly rich tapestry, really, to bring together, and she's somebody who inspires us all around her. Oh, it's an absolutely beautiful spring day at Arbory Chapel here, and we're very grateful to the chapel for allowing us to have the presentation at the end of a Kurjan Kujak concert, Annie's choir, that's been going for about 35 years. It's an incredible achievement, and hundreds of songs and tunes and arrangements that she's made and poems. And I think what comes across from everybody in the audience is how everybody really loves Annie and how much that she has given to the island and to her culture, and her love of the island shines through everything she does.
There are so many people who are working for Manx culture in so many different ways now, as always, and don't all get the recognition that they deserve at all, but so I just feel really I'm part of a much bigger thing, part of a jigsaw really, and lots of pieces to it, and there are other pieces that will get their time in the limelight, if you like, I hope. I'll just carry on doing the things I've always done and enjoyed doing. I think it's wonderful to have out those chances to do what you really enjoy, and that's really my motivation, I think. But I'm very pleased. I'm just very, very pleased with everybody to giving me this award. I wasn't expecting it, but I am genuinely honoured and very pleased, and I'm going to carry on doing more of the same, God willing. And have felt in the past that the Isle of Man has often been pushed to the side in terms of culture. Your poor language, you've not got much of a history, you haven't got this, you haven't got that. And sometimes Manx people themselves have defined themselves that way. So I think there's a sort of rebel instinct in me that thinks, no, it doesn't have to be like that. Why can't we be people who can do things with our language and our music? Why not? Why not have a go? And I suppose that's my motivation, is to have a go and see what happens. I don't feel particularly skilled, but I just go for it. And, you do learn as you do things. So, yeah, my motivation is, I think, to show we're still here in some ways. I've had a lovely afternoon here at this sun-filled chapel, singing, first of all, before the ceremony, and I'm looking out towards the hills, and somehow everything coming together. It's been great. Gurumai Muhyo, the Culture Fire.
Jurada Culture Vanannan, Reih McArdle, Curliach Culture Vanannan, Chris Thomas, MHK, and Annie Kissack, Reih Bleeaney Vanannan. Hiad the rau tref a Julian de Lai goldas cabel ins Ciortín and Dach Shachten, var ram sly goil arn ons arenas. Hanein a lomacan mar arn Jane Fobel sakil, och menig de lure mar olta J cor. Hamas na cor and shen, va goil arn ons quirichan cioli as tachat an ella carne blina ons na nartín, sa cabel as sakil heen. As va ke on de goil arn ons tachatan ons buil elle. Goilsjach and Manx Music Festival, the Guild. Lug deve courage bun, Liorish inna M.L. Woods, on Saki jeg, dayeg as kefid. Ons na lein ton Jew, Hanel and Bain hunjartel as vei, och ta fos keon, de sly te giri goil a ren, Eranor de vel fost imadi koren sanelin, as Pothen and Kjoli J. Erd Chaim, as son shigerus tan gild heen fos golair. The Meadowside Choral Society was founded in 1962 and is still going strong, these 60-odd years later. With the approach of Easter, the Meadowside Choral Society will be presenting a piece, the full title of which is The Crucifixion, a meditation on the sacred passion of the Holy Redeemer, and it's an oratorio for choir and organ, which was composed by John Stainer in 1887. And, as well as narrative from the King James Bible, there's a libretto by the Reverend William John Sparrow Simpson. Here's the musical director and conductor of the Meadowside Choral Society, Julian Power, talking about his role and this work.
You've been working with the Meadowside Choral Society. How has that come about?
Well, I resigned from Isle of Man Choral Society and passed the baton on to Mandy Griffin, who did a fabulous job over the weekend with Poulenc's Gloria and Fauré's Requiem and selections from Carmen. And Michael Porter resigned from Meadowside Choral Society for health reasons, but he had been their choral director for 25 years and more, I think. Anyway, I said to Meadowside Choral Society, I'm not sure I can do it for 25 years. I should be over 100 then.
And you have some forthcoming performances.
Well, we've got two exciting performances before Easter. We always perform a Passion before Easter, and on this occasion it's the Crucifixion, and we're performing it on Palm Sundays, the 13th of April this year, and this will be in Mount Tabor Methodist Church at 6:30 in the evening, and then again on Good Friday in Arbory Parish Church, again at 6:30 in the evening.
And it's Stainer's Crucifixion. What is the structure of the piece?
It is a passion that was written by Stainer specifically for parish church choirs. And so we're a 40-strong choral society, and so we've got a nice body of singers able to produce this glorious work. Some consider it a little Victorian and old-fashioned, but actually it's hugely popular, and it's got many memorable songs in it, including, of course, the glorious God So Loved the World, which we're hoping to sing unaccompanied. But we've got some wonderful solo singers coming to join us, including Jeff Collier singing the baritone solos, and Bill Creer singing the tenor solos. And, of course, there are a few solos from choir members, in addition, of course, to the wonderful and spectacular choruses such as Fling Wide the Gates.
As you mentioned, people have suggested it high Victorian. It's perhaps slightly ironic that you're doing something. Sparrow Simpson was quite a high church man, wasn't he? And you're going to be performing in Mount Tabor. Yes,
but it is just the Christian message of Holy Week, really, and it is a passion that concentrates on the death of Jesus, which is what happens. Palm Sunday is the triumphant entry into Jerusalem of Jesus on a donkey, and of course Good Friday, Christians celebrate the death of Jesus on the cross, and of course 2 days later the resurrection on Easter Sunday.
What are the challenges of the piece for the choir?
It's just a glorious piece to sing, and of course we all love doing it, and Meadowside Choral Society have performed it every few years, so they know it really well, and because of that we're able to produce it really well, and we have a wonderful organist, Gareth Moore, playing for us, and so that is going to be spectacular. Of course he has his back to me as the conductor, so it's not easy for him, but he's well experienced, of course, and so we're all looking forward to producing it together.
This is a work that has stood the test of time. It's 1887 that Stainer put it together. So obviously, as you say, it's been something that has been popular in the repertoire.
Yes, not only is it popular, it's so enjoyable for the audience or the congregation because we have 5 hymns to join in. They were very well-known hymns. They're less well-known today, But we have a number of verses for each hymn, and so by the time you get to the second and third verse, the congregation really do know them. And many in our congregations that will come to this do know them, and so everyone will be invited to join in the hymns.
As you say, Stainer wrote it with the church choirs in mind, so it's very much a celebration in which everybody can join.
Absolutely everybody can join in, and it takes just less than an hour to perform, so it's not a long event. It's performed without interval and just goes through to the end, and it's very emotional, really.
Well, Julian Power, thank you very much indeed. Go to my morning.
Musical director and conductor of the Meadowside Choral Society, Julian Power, and with Gareth Moore at the organ, and with guest soloists Jeff Collier and Bill Creer, they'll be presenting Stainer's The Crucifixion in Mount Tabor Methodist Chapel in Port St Mary at 6:30 on Palm Sunday, that's this coming Sunday, the 13th of April. And they'll also be performing it on Good Friday, the 18th of April at 6:30 in Arbory Parish Church. And a reminder of that second performance next time in Shiaght Laa. Och, Shenavo Shiaght Laa der Nachiat. But that's it from Shiaght Laa until next Thursday, Maundy Thursday, the 17th of April. So, now from me, Nish Fiona McArdle, Slidden Liat.